The Dynamic Discs Open 2022, this tournament, the 6th stop on the Elite Series, concluded just recently. This tournament was the hardest tournament I have ever seen in disc golf. If you guys have been watching disc golf this year, then you would know that I would be crazy if I said a winner of an event shot 10 under. I would also be told I'm crazy if only 9 people shot under par for the event. Well, it happened. DDO was insanely tough. In this video, we're going to look at how exactly this happened. What were the major factors in the event being one of, if not the hardest tournament in disc golf history? We're going to look at the course changes, playing conditions, and how does this event compare to what we thought was the hardest event prior? What happened between last year, where Paul McBeth shot 42 under to win, to this year, where the winner only shot 10 under? Let's find out. Here we go. Now, I grew up in the Midwest and I've played plenty of disc golf in the wind. Can't say I have ever played in the wind where you try to putt and the disc floats back at you. I mean, we could just spend the rest of the video watching this putt by James Conrad. It might be one of my favorite disc golf clips. I mean, it's no fault of Conrad's. He hits it from like 10 feet straight on and it just stalls, then floats back towards him. Like, what in the world? That pretty much says it all for the wind. Days 1 and 2 were really bad. Day 3 was like the most insane amount of wind. Then finally on day 4, it was a much calmer, but still windy day. With the courses having a decent amount of OB and water and just overall trouble, the wind was a killer. Tight fairways where you have to throw something super overstable out over the OB just because the wind is going to abuse your disc makes the course a lot harder. We already saw James putt. That was the worst example of wind for putting, but some other moments happened to where if you hit the top of the basket, it was just going to keep going, or being downwind on a putt, it just beat your disc down. Lastly, watching pros lay up putts hole after hole was really funny. I mean, some of the events we watched, these guys are crazy. Like, Ricky goes for everything because he has a really good chance of making a putt within 75 feet. But watching him lay up circle 2 putts was a big tell that this tournament was something different. Jones Supreme, I mean, that's an A+ disc golf course name if you ask me. I'm hungry and I'm fearful at the same time. We got the newest rendition of Jones Park in Emporia. The mastermind Eric McCabe bringing out another solid course design. Last year, Jones Gold was played for the Dynamic Discs Open, but this year his new design was used. Lots, and I mean lots, of OB. The park itself is pretty wide open, but using artificial out of bounds, he made this course so much harder. Only using a couple familiar holes from the Jones Gold layout, this new layout brought in some pretty cool new holes. The starting hole was probably the most talked about, I mean partially due to the wind. He had so many pros laying up a 290-foot par 3. That's pretty impressive. A lot of par 4s, some really long par 3s, and a nasty par 5. This course played super tough in the wind. Another hole I liked was hole 12. I mean, this is a Midwest disc golf hole if I do say so myself. Island green surrounded by long grass. Come on, this is perfect. Literally no tree protection too. You're at the mercy of the wind. Emporia Country Club just had a couple of changes that occurred on the course design specifically. Hole 4 used to be a 423-foot par 3, straightforward, open shot, just swing in something overstable. But for this year, it was a 600-foot par 3 turnover shot. Don't forget about the wind, it literally made this hole impossible. 1 birdie for the event, pretty sure it was a throw-in. Yeah, what a hole. I mean, even on the final day, it was not even touched, and that's when the wind was calmer. That's a championship hole right there. Hole 10 also changed. It used to be a par 3 out of the trees, but this year was a very strange looking hole for Emporia. Usually you see wide open shots with wind. Well, hole 10 was a short break for the players off in this little patch of woods that created a technical sidearm throw for most players. One of the easier holes of the tournament for sure, but still a little bit of skill required. To play well at DDO this year, you had to never let your foot off the gas. You had to always be on top of your game. Now, if I'm going to claim that this is the hardest event I have ever seen, then I'm going to have to throw some stats at you guys using the hardest course we knew from last year. Northwood Black, you guys may have seen it during the Ledgestone last year. It's one of the 2 courses that they play for that event. Previously, it was known as the hardest course on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Still has that claim. I mean, we know the weather played such a large part at Dynamic this year that I don't want to take anything away from Northwood. Let's look at the hardest hole at Northwood and compare that to the hardest hole at DDO. The hardest hole at Northwood Black is hole 12. Par 5, this hole is insane, it's long, it's tight, it's tough. Scoring average of 1.34 above par for the event. That has Dynamic beat by quite a bit. Hole 18 at Emporia played the toughest in round 3, coming up with 0.92 over par. Margins in disc golf are small, so when a hole is half a point tougher, it means a lot. My argument could be challenged here. Obviously the toughest hole at Northwood is better, but I believe depth matters. Northwood has holes that played much easier than holes for the Dynamic Disc Open. Last year, Ledgestone event was cut short due to weather, so they only had 3 rounds. If we use the first 3 rounds from the Dynamic Disc Open to compare, we see a much different number. The average round at Ledgestone was 4 over par, pretty much on the number. As for the Dynamic Disc Open, they averaged 5.46 over par. A shot and a half higher, that's depth right there. Now, one thing we have yet to talk about is what statistically happened between this year's Dynamic Disc Open and the year before. This year, with the final round playing a little easier, it lowered the average round by a bit. The 4 rounds averaged out to 3.92 above par, basically 4 shots over par a round. Last year, the average round was 1.17 under par. That's just for the average rounds, not even looking at the final scoreboard. 55 players shot under par in last year's event. This year, 9 people did. Macbeth won last year's event at 42 under, but 5 other people broke 30 under for the tournament. That's crazy. The Dynamic Disc Open does a cut after round 3 where only the top 40% and ties get to play the final round. That cut line in 2021 was 8 under. Fast forward to the most recent DDO and they did a 3rd round cut at 16 over par. What in the world? These numbers are crazy. So after seeing all these numbers, seeing how hard this tournament was, how do we rate this year's winner's performance? Let's go. After seeing the cut line, seeing how hard the course plays, seeing what the average scores were, do we think that Ricky's performance was one of the best we have ever seen? Personally, I think he made mistakes, he threw some bad shots, he had some really poor putts. But guess what? So did everyone this week. Ricky just weathered the storm better. Yeah, he threw it OB a lot. So did everyone else. Ricky just kept it in play best he could. He played smart. He laid up on putts he knew he wasn't going to make. And he threw a lot of placement shots off the tee to keep it in bounds. I think, and I'm being honest right now, this may be the best performance we have seen this year. Yeah. Everyone shoots 35 under to win a tournament. That's cool. But this was a different kind of beast to conquer. Ricky won by 6 shots. Simon came in second with 4 under. We saw what this event did to the best of the best. Dickerson got beat up a little. He fought hard. He got 8th. Heimberg finished at 10th. Gannon was in the mix, but he still beat him by 10. Macbeth didn't even make the cut. I think if you watch this event and you look at the stats and also the leaderboard, you see domination. It was wild out there. There were moments that Ricky could have slipped, but he didn't. He made bogeys. He fought hard and he held in there, not only against the best players in the world, but also the toughest conditions we will probably ever see. Ricky Wysocki has the best single performance of the year so far. That's my claim. I'm sticking to it. Fight me in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out my channel. Make sure to comment down below what you guys thought of the Dynamic Disc Open. Do you think it was the toughest event you have ever seen? What about Ricky? Was his performance the best we have seen this year so far? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.